Hello and welcome to this festive offering where I talk through my top 10 favourite Christmas specials and films. But first I have to credit a couple of people on DeviantArt for the meme. Demetria Miriam made the bass and Toon fan Joey added the Christmas stuff. And the next thing I have to do is say that these are not ranked. I can't rank them, so they are simply in order of age. First we have It's a Wonderful Life, a very famous Christmas movie from 1946. Long before I saw it, I had seen a few parodies such as Tiny Toon Adventures, Rugrats, The Muppets, and I was interested to see the film for quite some time, I think, before I found it in the Christmas Listings magazine and actually sat down to watch it when I was well into my 20s, so quite a long time ago now. It's full of old-fashioned family values, isn't it? George Bailey must provide for his wife Mary and their 4 children with very little money because George has made sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice, and she helps. It's her idea to advance everyone their honeymoon money when the Great Depression hits, and it's all in such a good cause. I have once or twice heard people on television who think they're being amusing saying, "Oh, you try running down Oxford Street on Christmas morning shouting Merry Christmas everyone, oh, you get punched in the face." But have those people seen the film? I don't know everyone on Oxford Street, much less am I the reason why they aren't all living in slums. And through all this, George and Mary Bailey are happy. And the very famous thing, of course, is that George is visited by an angel, Clarence, who talks him out of committing suicide by showing him what the world would be like if he hadn't been in it. Quite a lot of people would have died, I think. I can't say that for myself either. And then the end is lovely. All these people have noticed what George has done for them and appreciate him and pool their money to get him out of a hole. So that's the story, but no story is up to anything much without a really good cast. Jimmy Stewart is very much the lead, and I do think he's brilliant. So a very well done film and a very laudable Christmas message there. But now we have quite a string of childhood staples. Santa Claus the movie, which must have been a few years old when I first saw it because it's the same age as me, 1985. Now I understand this film isn't generally terribly highly thought of, particularly in the US. I have seen a quote from John Lithgow saying that a lot of English people tell him they like it. Well, here's why I like it. It's got a good, clear, fun story and Christmas message about giving and getting as well, to be fair. The whole Santa Claus mythos involves children writing letters and asking for what they want. But then Corny, one of our child protagonists, clearly shows herself to be a very giving person, letting the homeless boy Joe use her house when he's ill, introducing herself by putting out the surplus food in their huge house, which makes him sound a bit like an animal. She does first invite him to come and take it from her, but he's too shy at that stage. Absolutely brilliant cast. David Huddleston is the best Santa Claus ever, in my opinion. Dudley Moore as Patch, the innovative elf, whom whoever writes the TV Listings magazine's blurbs but doesn't actually watch the film completely misunderstands. He doesn't go and make stuff for a corporate giant out of any nefarious motives. He's trying to prove himself to Santa Claus and is naive and led astray by Beezy, and that's who John Lithgow plays absolutely brilliantly. He may not think much of the film himself, but he certainly commits to that greedy corporate fat cat capitalist character. At school, at the end of the Christmas term, we would all traipse into the hall where the staff had set up a television and VHS player, and one day when I was quite low down still in the school, the film was Santa Claus the movie, and that is one of 3 times in my life where some adult has chosen a film for me and I had absolutely no idea what to expect and ended up loving it. The other 2 times were Beauty and the Beast, which was in the cinema, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which was at home, and this one was at school. Next we have Blackadder's Christmas Carol from 1988. Again, it was quite a few years old when I first saw it. We got it out of Blockbuster Video, and really I love this for being a part of the Blackadder universe. It was such a good idea to do a Christmas Carol parody and have among the famous time periods and the famous monarchs Victorian times and Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. Rowan Atkinson is absolutely brilliant. So is Tony Robinson, Blackadder and Baldric being the two absolute staples of any time period. There's a fantastic comic cast around Blackadder as the fulcrum, with Baldric as his sidekick, Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, Miranda Richardson, Miriam Margolyes, Jim Broadbent, Patsy Byrne. And it's very, very clever because they subvert what happened to Scrooge and what happens to everybody in every other parody. Ebenezer Blackadder is the kind of giving person who gives and gives and gives, and people take and take and take. And Robbie Coltrane, another very funny actor who's been in another Blackadder episode, as the spirit of Christmas, shows Blackadder a couple of his ancestors, Blackadder II and Blackadder III, using their wily ways to take from other people. Blackadder III more so. There is a vision of the future as well, Blackadder's descendant, though rather different from Scrooge with his own past and his own future, and there's no need to show Blackadder the present. We've seen how the people he knows profit by taking from him, and it's structured in exactly the same way as the book. We meet characters on Christmas Eve. Blackadder, like Scrooge, goes to bed and has his visions on Christmas morning. We see exactly the same characters, and he treats them completely differently. It's very fun, very well done. One memory I do have is being disappointed that there was no The Blackadder flashback. I had never seen The Blackadder. I had to go to bed when it was on television. Anyone who had anything to do with it seemed to be a bit sort of ashamed of it, didn't want to acknowledge it. It is very different and it is not as good. I think everyone would agree. But apart from that, it would have been difficult, wouldn't it? They've lost all the original cast except Rowan Atkinson and Tony Robinson, and they had all their elaborate sets and their location filming, and what kind of a sketch would they do for Christmas anyway? And now we have Rowan Atkinson again, Merry Christmas, Mr. Bean, which I'm sure I did see on its first outing in December 1992. In the picture I've got there, he's excited about having taken all the snaps out of his very old crackers that he's had to blow the dust off the top of, and putting them into one cracker to get a decent bang. Mr. Bean really is the last word in thinking outside the box, and does loads of fun things that are very stimulating for a child. Has Irma Gob round for Christmas, greets her with a turkey on his head, upsets her very much by presenting her with the picture demonstrating a man giving a woman a ring that he thought she wanted when she was pointing in the window of the ring shop. There's really not a lot of analysis to add to any of this, it's just Mr. Bean being really funny and festive. Also from 1992 is The Muppet Christmas Carol. I briefly mentioned The Muppets before with their It's a Wonderful Life parody. Not so keen on that. I don't love everything the Muppets have done, but I do love their literary adaptations. And I watched The Muppet Christmas Carol many, many times as a child. Slightly older child by the time it came on television. A traditional adaptation, of course, in the sense that Scrooge's story is pretty closely based on the book. Scrooge, played by Michael Caine, absolutely straight, conversing with all these Muppet characters as he would with any other actor, giving it a mix of the bizarre and the genuine, which I think the Muppets are generally quite good at. The Muppet performers are all brilliant as well. I cannot praise the actors in this stuff enough. I watched it quite stoically, and then one day when I was a teenager, I think, and I had been ill, I found myself bawling at the scene in the future, which we know doesn't even come to pass, where Tiny Tim has died, and they're going to bury him where you can see the ducks on the river, and oh, I can't bear it. But then that means it's very, very effective. Miss Piggy is a feisty Emily Cratchit standing up to Scrooge, but also being genuinely very emotional and moving in that scene where her little frog son has died. Gonzo with Charles Dickens and Rizzo providing a lot lot of humour. I do love Kermit, whatever he's doing, and he's very well suited to the mild-mannered, poor but happy Bob Cratchit. Look Who's Talking Now I must have seen before The Muppet Christmas Carol, though it's a 1993 film, because we got that one out of Blockbuster Video, having already enjoyed and watched multiple times Look Who's Talking and Look Who's Talking 2. This one's very different, with some different people involved, different location. I think maybe they were expecting at first to use the original Look Who's Talking apartment, but when Molly describes a tiny apartment that isn't suitable for a dog, she's quite wrong. They can have 2 big dogs in there and make a fun, festive family film. It is not a Christmassy picture I have here. I thought it more important to show the whole family, including those 2 dogs, Rox and Daphne. Rox is used to living on the streets and is not very civilized. Daphne has been spoiled and pampered and therefore isn't a very suitable pet either to start with, and then they make friends and meet in the middle and save the lives of all their human family, while Molly, Mikey and Julie are in search of James, who is struggling to get out of the clutches of his boss, who's managed to get him snowed into this cabin with her and is trying to seduce him. But because James and Molly have a very secure, happy marriage, Lizette Antony's usual home-wrecking character, which she plays very well indeed in this and Poirot and Jonathan Creek, isn't going to work on James, and the Christmas stuff all just goes to underline that family closeness and togetherness. John Travolta, brilliant. Kirstie Alley, brilliant. The 2 kids, extremely suitable and talented young actors. Diane Keaton as the voice of Daphne. Danny DeVito as the voice of Rox, very good indeed and often hilarious. Then fast forward a few years to 1996, the Earthworm Jim Christmas episode, not so much a special, For Whom the Jingle Bell Tolls, which, like the rest of Earthworm Jim, is very fun and very silly. The picture there shows Jim sitting on the lap of his old cellmate Walter, he did have to go to prison briefly in season 1, as a mall Santa. Earthworm Jim provides an explanation for why there are so many mall Santas and a real Santa. They are able to communicate with the real Santa through their beards, so he will know what you want for Christmas. In this, the real Santa is a bit of an arse, really. He mistreats the elves. He deliberately makes it so that the toys he brings you are going to be crap, telling an elf to go through the Fashion Doll beach house and remove all the tabs marked C. As I said, very silly, very fun, if you like that kind of thing, and I do. I think Santa presents himself as nicer than he actually is when Queen Slug-for-a-Buck gets hold of him and wants to use his magical flying sleigh to go around the world implanting microchips in children's brains and thus taking over. And Earthworm Jim and Peter Puppy and Princess What's-Her-Name, of course, foil this plan, and there is at this point a little moving, genuine, sentimental Christmas speech by Jim, delivered by the brilliant Dan Castellaneta, with just enough silliness and just enough sincerity to hit the right notes for an Earthworm Jim Christmas message. Princess What's-Her-Name raises an interesting point about the naughty and nice thing. Who is he to judge us anyway? Turns out Santa Claus was once the Norse god of judgment. Also in 1996, but a few weeks later, was The Vicar of Dibley, The Christmas Lunch Incident. Now this just makes me laugh so much. Dawn French as Geraldine Granger, trying to force down all these massive Christmas lunches that she has not had the heart to say no to. In the picture there, she's looking at the 4th one. It's not obvious, I've had to chop off most of the tripe there, but that is what Owen offers her at his farmhouse. And my favourite bit is probably where Geraldine is eating all these extra sprouts at the house of David Horton, which she really doesn't need to eat. But she's got into this competition because David has been putting down poor Hugo with his bet that he could eat more sprouts than the guest. So Geraldine, with her good heart, eats more sprouts, and Dawn French is doing this brilliant kind of air of nonchalance, but the viewer knows that she's absolutely stuffed already. She She's got one other lunch to go to that she knows about. It just cracks me up. What I like about The Vicar of Dibley generally, as well as the brilliant cast, is the coziness, the lovely village setting and village life. It's a sitcom of warm, fuzzy feelings, and I really do think it peaks with that hilarious Christmas special. And now the last one in the 20th century, not so much a childhood staple, Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics, the South Park Christmas episode from 1999. So it's getting even a bit sillier than Earthworm Jim when you consider that Mr. Hankey is a Christmas poo. And there he is in his chair in that Christmas setting that you see taken off so many times, introducing the South Park versions of all these Christmas songs and a Hanukkah song. That's the first time I've thought of mentioning any other holidays from around this time. And I've embellished my edges with snow so you can see how stuck I am in the Northern Hemisphere. South Park has done quite a few very funny Christmas/Hanukkah episodes. I like Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics the most because it is amusing and it is warm. Trey Parker and earlier Matt Stone and Trey Parker do have a talent for combining the silly with the genuine, the bizarre with the real. And all those Christmas songs are some sort of silly version. For instance, Shelley is physically attacking Stan and Kyle while they interrupt her rendition of I Saw Three Ships. Santa and Jesus are getting competitive over how many Christmas songs there are about them. But it's also all very warm and genuine, and the boys singing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is completely genuine and heartfelt and includes a little tribute to the recently deceased Mary Kay Bergman. And then we go to 2005 with the Creature Comforts Christmas episode, Merry Christmas Everybody. Now, Creature Comforts is also a clever mix of the real and the bizarre. Real people's voices, bizarrely, given to claymation animals. In my picture there, I've got Brian and Keith, who sound like a couple of young urban guys. And Brian will chat amicably about anything, including the lyrics to the 12 Days of Christmas. He has a very good, poignant Christmas message about talking to each other, communicating. Keith will occasionally chip in with some banter. I mean, they know each other well enough. It does just mean that Keith doesn't come across as well as Brian in the medium of claymation pit bulls. This episode is their second Christmas episode. The first one I find rather forgettable. It's a short one, less than 10 minutes like the rest of the series, but this Merry Christmas Everybody Series 2 episode is more than double the length, and you hear all kinds of perspectives. The hamster who hates having Christmas with his family, the fox who is very disaffected about the whole thing, the cat and the dog who find it difficult to understand what the other one is saying, like some sort of married couple or something, who don't seem to have strong feelings about Christmas either way, although the dog doesn't like wearing her paper hat from her cracker, and she doesn't like the 12 Days of Christmas. Getting people to sing that, talk about that, works very well indeed. A lot of them don't know the lyrics. The urban rat wife runs out and makes up 6 maids a singing. The Welsh wrinkly dog can't keep track of the tune or where he's got up to with the lyrics. And interspersed with all this is people talking about their feelings about Christmas. There's the rather posh dog who finds it unbearably emotional. And honestly, it's something that I watch over and over at Christmas time, and I laugh because these people say some very funny things, and saying them through the mouths of these claymation animals makes them funnier. Thank you very much for listening to me if you made it all the way through, or even if you only listen to the bits that are interesting to you. If there are any, thank you ever so much. Happy holidays and goodbye.